Hello to Neil Morgan, a Senior Director at Christie Co. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Hospitality Talks. I very much appreciate you giving us some time in the busy August holidays. Neil, for anyone out there, and surely the entire industry knows who you are and who Christie Co are, we see you on a lot of platforms at events and obviously you're incredibly knowledgeable and well thought of in the industry. But could you just give a quick rundown as to who you guys are and what you do?
I've had over 35 years of experience in the property market, with over 25 years of experience in the license sector, and all of that 25 years with Christie Co. My role is I help oversee the national licensed property team with a focus mainly on transactional, advisory and consultancy work for virtually all the UK banks, all major operators, many local regional owners and UK developers and investors. The team of which I'm part of, we just give you an idea of our extent in the sector is we value, appraise or transact on over 6,000 pubs on an annual basis. At this present time, that sort of equates to about 12% of the UK pub market. My personal specialism is mergers and acquisitions, and have been directly involved in a vast number of small to major transactions. And I'm also part of a team that we work very closely with banks and administrators involved in CVAs and administrations. I also am actively involved in the pub trade body, the British Institute of Innkeeping, the BII, as a trustee, which I enjoy immensely.
Fabulous. Neil, thank you so much for such a succinct but full and thorough introduction. So I'm really interested in getting your views, but also your knowledge on what has happened in the industry in the last 4 months. Because for those of us out there that are looking in, from whatever side of things, we've seen what's happened from a consumer point of view. We've seen what's happened from an operator point of view. But I'm really interested to know, how has the COVID situation affected the last 4 months of sales and of mergers and acquisitions? What have you seen?
Okay, well, should we sort of start from the beginning? Let's look at pub numbers in general. So we've had 2 recessions. We're in the second one right now. The first recession really was a result, it happened around 2006, 2007 as a result of the fallout, the subprime lending happening in the States with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, if we all remember. The license sector was particularly hit because it happened to coincide with the introduction of the smoking ban, tax duty hike as well. So I think most of the pundits or plaudits called it the perfect storm. If you look at pub numbers, 68,000 pubs in the UK in 1986 to 1989, and that was pre-beer orders. Following the beer orders and down to 2006, it sort of fell to 57,500. In 2007, I stood on a platform at, I believe, a UKH conference when I said there were 10,000 pubs too many, and that what that recession would do, it would hasten the demise that were already destined for closure. And sure enough, we're now, or were, down to around 47,500 pubs across the UK pre-COVID. As a result of COVID, I'm probably going to stick my head above the parapet again and say that I believe that there's going to be somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 pubs again that may never open. That's not a bad thing. I believe it's a number of pubs which are unsustainable, and again, the COVID-19 will hasten their demise. So won't see 3,000 more. I just firmly believe that the reduced number of pubs will be a much leaner, much more vibrant and much more sustainable number going forward. I think pubs has been hit badly. It's a social meeting point. People, we're humans. We're like most animals. We like to socialize, and eating and drinking is all about that. I think the worry I have is that people have now up till recently not been able to go to their pub and socialise, and they've been socialising at home, and there's a risk that too many people have thought, well, actually I can smoke at home, I can drink at home, I can social at home. I don't need the pub or the restaurant, which is a fear for me. But do you know what I think one of the best initiatives that came in was the Rishi Sunak, the Rishi effect, as I call it, the eat out, the eat out to help out. And, 35 million meals have been served since that introduction. And, they've set aside 500 million for it. And it's just been phenomenal. I live in Guildford. The other week, I tried getting a table for two to dine out. Couldn't get a table anywhere at a sensible time, which is absolutely fabulous news.
Yeah.
My only concern is that the sort of the trade is compacted into a Monday to Wednesday, and where Thursday, Friday, and Saturday may sort of drop out. And I do understand for some operators it's going to be a logistical nightmare when it comes to staffing and stock levels. So that's the issue I can see. What we have seen is specifically in restaurants is rents. That's the big issue. I think rents have been on the climb for quite a long time. And, the bubble was going to burst at some stage, and this has actually caused that to happen. I think some landlords are still got their heads in the sand, and they're still looking to, playing hard to try and retain those levels of rents. And tenants just can't keep up with it due to the fall in trade, etc. My statement to landlords is that, are you not better off to have your business or property open with somebody paying the rent, albeit at a reduced amount? Or you go void, you then have to re-let it, you then get a void period for some time, and you then re-let it at probably not as good favourable terms and at a lesser rent. So, some landlords have just got to look at the operator in there and look at their investment and look at the covenant that they have. I think in terms of pubs, I think a lot of the pub cos, or majority of the pub cos, are working with their tenants.
Yeah.
And again, we're seeing in terms of rent holidays or rent deferments and some form of helping hand. Because again, I think pub cos recognise the last thing they want is to see revolving door tenants.
You don't want to lose the tenants, no.
Yeah. And so, I think there's that happening. Private equity is another one. I put private equity guys into two buckets. As we all know, private equity, when they invest in a business or a company, they talk exit before they enter. But what I'm finding now is we're speaking to quite a large number of private equity companies and individuals, or private investors, and a lot of them are, you've got two buckets. You've got one bucket where they're like vulture buyers. They see a business or a company on the ropes, in trouble, and they see that as an opportunity to snap it up at anything up to, as little as 50p in the pound. On the other hand, you've then got companies that need, in this specific time, a bit of cash injection. They've got a sustainable model, quality brand, quality team, quality staff and unit team behind them, and they need the equity to grow and take advantage of what will be quite a number of assets coming to the market at some stage. So it's having that war chest that allows them to acquire and grow in a big way. And so that's what we're seeing.
Sorry, Neil. What do you see for the near future for M&A? Are we going to be seeing some of the bigger pub groups taking on some of the smaller ones? Are we going to be seeing a lot more, individual unit sales? What do you think is going to happen as a result of COVID and this current recession that we're in?
Yeah, I was if you talked to me in beginning of March of this year, I was extremely excited. The pub sector in itself had one of the best years going, over 9 billion of pub transactions in terms of corporate portfolio deals. And then up to March, it looked like we were going to have another fantastic year as well. We had, Christie Co had around 3 portfolios that were sort of in solicitors' hands and moving forward, and then obviously COVID put a pause or a stop button on them. Mm-hmm. I think at the moment we're all I think the market and a lot of people were predicting quite a plethora of businesses or properties coming for sale from, you know, a lot of the corporate pub companies right early on, but that actually hasn't happened. My hunch is that we'll see more activity happening around the end of September, October, when the government sort of subsidies and helping hand starts to sort of disappear. Yeah. So that's when we're going to see it. In terms of the private market, since April, we've seen a 64% rise in activity and new registrations. And I guess when there is a recession and the stock market's as volatile as it is, people do sort of run towards invest in property. I guess it's the old-fashioned I can see my investment. Yeah. And I guess a lot of people have sort of latched onto what we consider to be the new phrase localization, where more and more people are probably less inclined to work from the office in the big cities. I think that this whole lockdown has taught people that they can work from home. I think employers historically have wanted their staff to work in the offices and not at home, not because they didn't trust them, it's just that they didn't believe that their time management or efficiency was going to be that as good working from home as that of the office. But this has all proved that completely wrong. I mean, we're talking video right now, and that seems to be the normal course at the moment. So I think a lot more people are sort of living from home. They're buying locally. I mean, historically, I've always bought groceries and shopping from a big supermarket, including your meat, vegetables, fruit, etc. I found through all of this a fantastic butcher, fantastic greengrocer, and you know, you may be paying a little bit more, but the quality is so much better. And I will never go back to a supermarket and buy meat again unless I have to. And I guess people are now seeing that the community pubs are what's going to benefit through all of this. And the level of inquiries we've been getting is from suburban, edge of town, semi-rural, rural pubs where, you know, car parks, beer gardens, where people actually can see more longer term social distancing actually being more achievable. And what's also interesting is we're getting a rise in the number of restaurant companies that are now looking to acquire pubs versus town centre restaurants, because obviously pubs offer that much opportunity for much larger external trading space, whereas town centre boxes do not. Car parking, and also if you're taking on a lease, it tends to be more on an open market rent basis rather than that on a pound per square foot, which is what you find in the town centres. So we're seeing the likes of James Horler and Ego, which is expanding through his partnership with M&B, Tasty with Wildwood, White's Brasserie, I'm sure will be back on the expansion trail again as soon as the market is sort of picking itself up. And of course, the restaurant group with their Brunning and Price brand, which is really the big success story of that company.
Yeah. And of course, we've got, you know, we already know that consumers are telling us that they're still going to be steering clear of town centres for quite some time now. And if we do have a second wave, then that's only going to become even more prevalent and more important that people look at that. So yes, I can understand that the community-based and the suburb-based outlets look like a better bet at that stage. Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. I mean, we are transacting. It's not just freeholds that we're transacting. We're actually sort of putting deals away on tied and free of tie leases as well. Okay. So generally, there is a lot of activity out there, which is so positive and so encouraging for me as a passionate supporter of the licensed sector.
Me too. And that is the perfect place to end, because I always like to finish on a high, and I've taken enough of your time. So Neil Morgan from Christie Co, thank you so much for giving me your time and your expertise and for the benefit of everyone watching. And I hope to see you soon for an actual beer, possibly to discuss some BII business.
Many thanks, Katy, and thanks for the invitation.
Lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cheers.